so glad you've come. There's a man here who's been bothering me.
What?
No, Henry. Your eyes do not deceive you. It is indeed your irresponsible and half-witted brother-in-law. Won't you introduce me to this charming young person?
Doris, this is Mr. Robert Lester. Miss Mead.
How strange life is, Miss Mead, to think that you're practically a member of the family. I must tell Emily about this new addition to the domestic circle. She'll be delighted.
Excuse me, Doris. All right. How much do you want?
Well, Emily was about to give me 400 when you, in your wisdom, thought fit to intervene.
All right, I'll give you 400.
Emily was giving. You're buying. Not a penny less than 500.
Robert, you are.
Henry, you know how I hate bad language.
All right. Come around tomorrow, I'll give you a check.
I'll come early, before Emily gets up.
Come whenever you like. You'll always be equally unwelcome.
This has been a very memorable occasion, Miss Mead. I intend to celebrate our meeting with some champagne. You'd feel better if you ordered a bottle yourself, Henry.
Is he really your brother-in-law, Henry?
Yes.
I don't want to do anything that's wrong.
It will be all right.
I'd rather give you up altogether, just because I love you so much. Oh, darling.
Thank you, Doris. You make me feel almost ashamed. Robert was right about one thing, though. We need some champagne with our dinner. After all, who tells you the world is not coming to an end this evening? Let's assume we have only 6 hours before the last trump. 6 hours to make the best of. Good night, McNabb.
I've been nursing for 20 years, and this is the first time anyone's ever had anything against me.
You mustn't take it so hard.
Oh, he's trying to ruin me, Miss Janet. I'll never get another job.
Nonsense. I couldn't wish for a better nurse for my father.
That's very kind of you, Miss.
Did you know our nurse is leaving?
Yes, I had heard.
I admit she's a good nurse. I'm the first to admit it. But Nurse Braddock had no business to go against my instructions.
I think I can tell you the reason. She wanted to spite Henry.
To spite him? What for?
She didn't like him, that's all.
Just because he belongs to the male sex, I suppose. Some of them get like that.
Janet, I'm so thankful you were with Emily at the end.
Yes, I think it helped her. Henry, try not to feel too bitterly about that poor nurse. She didn't mean any harm.
I know. Hell is paved with good intentions.
She'll be out of the house tomorrow. I'm going to get her to come and look after my father.
Well, I don't envy you.
I think it's a good idea. I can keep in touch with her and rub in the lesson from time to time.
Tell me about poor Emily. Did she suffer much? Janet, it's been too much for you.
It was terrible. It was so terrible. I've never seen anyone die before. I didn't realize. I'm sorry, Henry. I oughtn't to let myself go like this. I can't keep the memory away. I suddenly see her struggling for breath, with that awful look of fear and pain on her face.
Shall I take you home?
No thanks, Henry. I've got my car. You stay here with Dr. Lippert.
Good night.
Good night, Janet. There's nothing to say, of course. Just platitudes that don't mean anything. One talks in one universe, one dies and suffers in another. I found that out when Margaret died.
You two were very close, weren't you?
We were married nearly 30 years.
30 years. And yet, it isn't the time that counts. It's what you feel, what you are. Remember Emily as she was then?
Margaret used to say she looked like the princess in a fairy tale.
Shall I tell you where I was this evening?
It seems sufficiently obvious.
Suppose you think I'm pretty contemptible, don't you?
I never thought of that. But I feel extremely sorry for you sometimes. Being born with a lot of money. It's no joke. Heaven knows it's dreary work having to earn a living, but at least it gives a certain purpose and direction to one's life. Whereas a rich man, a man without a job or a family to support, he can afford to live discontinuously, if you see what I mean. Without any purpose but his own tastes and appetites.
In other words, he can afford not to be a real human being. Do you think I'm capable of changing?
At this moment, yes. But it's easy to be heroic at times of crisis. What's difficult is to behave even moderately well at ordinary times. The question is, how much will you want to change a month from now?
Am I as weak as all that?
I simply don't know. Wouldn't surprise me if you were. Wouldn't surprise me if you weren't. At 56, I've stopped being surprised at anything. Well, I must go to bed. I've got a heavy day tomorrow.
What a sky. Isn't it wonderful? But you're not looking at it.
No, I'm not. Volupté, fantôme élastique.
Oh, stop it. I hate it when you talk French.
I'm afraid you'll have to learn to put up with it. For better, for worse. In English and in French.
Till death do us part. Darling, how much do you love me?
How much? Let's see. I would say about 17 times as much as I love English cooking.
No, this isn't a joke.
You're perfectly right. English cooking is a tragedy. That's why we're starting for Paris tomorrow.
Paris? Do you mean it?
Unfortunately, I've got to pick up some papers on the way up to London.
You mean at your house? Good. Then I'll have a chance of seeing what it looks like.
No, you won't. You're going to wait for me at your Aunt Nellie's.
But, darling...
I don't want anybody I know to see us together. Not until we're back from abroad. You know as well as I do how they talk.
But the servants are away. You told me so yourself.
I know, but the house is full of painters.
Not on a Saturday afternoon. And tomorrow is Saturday. Please let me come and have a peep at it. Please.
All right.
Thank you, darling.
Don't thank me. Thank yourself. Ce que femme veut, Dieu le veut. Woman's will, heaven's will.
You know, I can't help feeling rather nervous.
What about?
About meeting your friends. About being Mrs. Henry Maurier. Sometimes I wish we could keep it a secret forever.
That would be romantic, wouldn't it?
You see, I left school when I was 16, so I don't really know anything. And look at the sort of people you go out to dinner with. Judges and admirals, authors. And then me in the middle of them. What do you expect me to do?
Don't do anything. Just be. That's good enough.
But after all, I'll have to say something. What on earth shall I say?
Well, ask them what they think about the Einstein theory.
Henry, you're a beast. You might at least pretend to talk to me seriously. After all, you talk seriously to other women.
Which other women?
Miss Spence, for example. You're serious with her, aren't you?
Oh, am I not?
That's precisely why I married you.
Not her. Which shows that there is something more in marriage than an ability to make polite conversation.
Oh, Janet.
pleasant surprise.
I thought you were in Cornwall.
I had to go to town unexpectedly. So I took the opportunity to do a little burglary on the way.
Without letting us know you'd be here.
I'm just driving through. How did you know I was here?
I saw the light.
Oh, and here you are. Well, I'm delighted. Now, let's see. This seems to be comparatively free of paint. Sit down, won't you?
May I? I won't stay long.
Well, I'm glad you came, Janet. As a matter of fact, it will save me writing a letter.
What's this?
Open it and see.
But Henry, it's Emily's bracelet.
And Emily would want you to wear it.
Me?
I don't know anyone who has as much right to it as you do.
Oh, no, Henry, I don't deserve it. Here, take it.
But Janet, she loved you. She'd want you to have something that would always remind you of her.
No, I can't.
Janet, I shall be offended if you don't take it.
Offended? Do you want me to have it?
Of course I want you to have it.
I just felt it was too much.
It's not nearly enough.
It's really very beautiful.
Do you mind if I finish off this little job while we talk?
Of course not. How did you like Cornwall?
Can you forgive me, Doris?
Darling, I'm the one who needs to be forgiven. It was all selfishness, really. I see it now. I was trying to spite you, trying to get my own vet.
I began it, I'm afraid.
I ought to have known better.
At 18?
To think I tried to kill myself. And everything so beautiful, so mysterious. Even that fly on the ceiling. Even that silly old doll you taught a bit. And this. How wonderful it is simply being able to move from one place to another. It's empty here. It's empty there. Just think if there were no emptiness. If everything was so jam full that you couldn't move, like in a coffin. That's death. That's hell. Oh, darling, I was forgetting. Before you came back, I rang up the Imperial Airways. There's a plane leaving Croydon in the morning. This is Friday. There's the whole weekend in front of us. We could be in Africa before they found out, or in Turkey, or... Henry.
You still believe I did it?
But I don't.
Then why did you suggest I should run away?
Oh, I've been a fool again. I made you angry. It's only because I love you so much. Because I was so terribly anxious in case you couldn't make them understand.
Shall I tell you something? I said a very stupid thing this afternoon. I said I didn't know why I ever married you. Well, perhaps I didn't know it then. But now I do know. I know very well.
Why?
Because I love you.
Oh, darling. Look what I found in the garden this morning.
Give that here.
Can't I give it to him? It's just a 4-leaf clover, that's all.
What's against the regulations? Oh, I don't see any harm in it.
You think it's awfully silly, don't you?
Silly to love someone. It's the only thing that makes any sense. How does Libet think you're getting on?
All right. Darling, let's call him Patrick.
Call whom? Libet?
No, I mean if it's a boy.
Oh, I see. And if it's a girl?
Well, what about Belinda?
Oh, no. No, there I draw the line.
But it's such a pretty name.
Do you see me running after the child in Kensington Gardens and yelling, Belinda, Belinda? There are limits, my dear. We're taking certain things for granted, aren't we?
Darling, you mustn't say such things. After all, you haven't done anything wrong, so what can they do to you? Besides, you've got your 4-leaf clover now, and we won't call her Belinda, I promise. But don't imagine that'll prevent you from making an ass of yourself. Any man looks an idiot when he's trying to keep a tiny child in order. I shall roar with laughter and you'll be furious. But then a moment later, you'll be laughing too. It'll be so wonderful, Henry.
Sorry, ma'am. Time's up.
Goodbye, darling.
Goodbye.
Come on.
I'm sorry. Your poor hand. Did you do that yesterday?
Yes. I did it yesterday. Darling. I want to tell you something. It happened to me last night, quite suddenly, in the middle of a paroxysm of rage and despair. It was like actually hearing a voice. Only there weren't any words. There was just a kind of absolute certainty.
A certainty.
I knew that everything was finally all right. I knew it. It's true. Of course, one's got to face things as they really are. One's got to forget what one would like them to be. Tell me, my darling, have the leaves started to turn?
They're all golden now.
Even the beech trees. I remember when I was a little boy, walking in the beech woods, I used to pretend that dry leaves were heaps of money, knee-deep in gold, like the Count of Monte Cristo. Death. You know, if you accept it, it's all right. But if you refuse to accept it, then you go mad.
But I can't accept it. I can't.
Shall I tell you what was hardest? Accepting the fact that I shouldn't ever see you again.
I wish I were dead. I wish I'd never been born.
There's nothing to do with one's wishes. After all, we did not ask to be born, but we've got to put up with life. Even if we don't like it, even if we can't understand it. And mind you, we can never understand it while we are actually living it. Life has to be lived forward, but it can only be understood backwards. So, there it is. That's what I suddenly understood. And meanwhile, what was I doing? The exact opposite of what had to be done. Knocking my hands to pieces, driving myself mad, raving against the injustice of the thing.
But it is unjust.
From the outside, yes, from other people's point of view. But you know, if you accept the injustice that's been done to you, if you say to yourself, well, this is what has happened, and I put up with it, I actually will it. Well, if you can do this, then in some strange, mysterious way, the nightmare makes a kind of sense. I know it's difficult to explain, but it's true. Oh, before I forget, I want you to promise me something. Don't see too much of Janet. Don't let her have anything to do with the baby.
But, darling, she's always been so sweet to me.
I know she has. But all the same, will you promise?
I promise.
I could tell you all the reasons, but it would take too long. Besides, what's the point? Let the dead bury their dead. Why bother about the past? I'm glad you didn't come to see me yesterday.
Why?
Yesterday I should almost have hated you.
Hated me?
Yes, hated you for being free, for having all your life in front of you, whereas I was here in a few hours. You love me, don't you? And I love you, Doris. And love casts out fear. Of course, it also works the other way around. Fear casts out love. Yesterday there was nothing but fear. But today... Today it's different.
Hello. Give me toll, please. Miss Battersea 6160. Was that Wandsworth Prison? This is Dr. James Libbard speaking. I want to speak to the government, please. At once. Yes, it's official business connected with the Maurier case. Yes, it's extremely urgent. All right, I'll hold on.